Yeah.
All right, well, welcome everybody. So my name is Theo Wayne. I'm the community manager of the Mavryk Network, and with me today is Alex Davis, the founder, and Sam, who is our chief of staff and lead developer. So welcome, guys. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, Alex Davis, founder of the Mavryk Network. I'm a former chief innovation officer of the Tezos Blockchain's Israel office, and founded Maverick Dynamics, which is a software development company that's built the Maven Finance DAO, and now expanding to build the Mavryk Network.
Amazing. And Sam, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, Sam Morrow, originally from LA. I've been with Alex on this since Maven DAO, Maven Finance DAO way back when, a couple years ago. Chief of staff, lead developer, friend, advisor, co-founder of Mavryk Network. You know, just a lot of things. I like to hop around between roles, otherwise it gets boring. It's crypto after all.
That's right. That's right.
Sam's like my Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army Sam, I love it. I love it. So
yeah,
just to get started we're filling right up. I can't believe how big our space got all of a sudden, just immediately right off the bat. Usually we're hanging out for 15 minutes. So we'll skip the how's the weather. And Alex, give us a small introduction for people that might not know and still don't know. What is the Mavryk Network?
The Mavryk Network is a new layer 1 blockchain. It's designed to facilitate the onboarding of tokenized real-world assets. So these, essentially onboard tokenized real-world assets and integrate them with DeFi products like lending, borrowing, staking, trading, etc. For those who might not know, real-world assets, or RWAs, are tokens that represent your ownership, your legal ownership over off-chain assets. And it could be almost anything. I mean, it could be a multifamily housing, a condo, a hotel, a piece of fine art, like a physical art. It can be a collectible in the real world, like a helmet worn by a driver in an F1 race. It's essentially, it used to be called security tokens, and now as the field has matured, we're now calling them RWAs.
Let's go. And we're going to be diving very deep into RWA. So I'm glad you gave a kind of explained what an RWA is. One of the biggest things, and I don't know if I want to, if you have a simple answer, Alex, or Sam, because I don't want to, this could be its own space in itself. But what are some of the small differences between like in RWA and what we have already, which is NFTs, right? That's what everybody has in their head when they're joining the space. Okay, how does this change that previous technology? What improves on this previous technology that we had before?
So I think it's a common misconception, but NFTs are not RWAs. An NFT is a token that represents the ownership of something that's natively digital, where an RWA represents ownership of something more often than not in the physical world. So there's a separation there. An NFT is simply a technology. It is a token that is not divisible by. It's a unique token. It's not, you can't like have half an NFT. That's primarily used to represent art, or digital art. We do actually have a non-fungible. We have an RWA token contract that we've built for tokenized real-world assets, and it actually supports essentially like fungible tokens. So you can own like 1.52 tokens of this hotel, for example, or essentially something like NFT. It's not an NFT itself. It's a regular contract, like a token that's just not divisible into fractions. So you can own but it functions like an NFT where it's like there's 1, 2, or you can only own 1, 2, or 3 tokens, for example.
So it really is in the name, right? Non-fungible token, and an RWA is a fungible token. And you mentioned it before, an RWA is just downright a security. Is that Is that still true in your opinion? You said that in one of the last spaces.
Yeah, not to dive too into the technicalities, but RWAs can be NFTs or they can be fungible tokens. The only difference is that when you have an RWA, for the most part, if it is an NFT, it would be multiple NFTs that represent the ownership of that. So you're using the NFT as like a serialized stock certificate. So you've got NFT, you might have a million NFTs that represent your ownership over this stock. And the difference between them is like NFT one,
Alex,
two, or three, or four.
let me kind of explain this simply for NFT people. It's an NFT collection
Okay.
would be a collection would be the ownership. A full collection would be the ownership over something, like over a piece of real estate. So an NFT collection would just have all these NFTs that are part of that collection, and each one of those is the serialized stock or the serialized share of ownership over that item.
That's a great way to put it.
Great, awesome. And because I don't want to spend too much time on it, right? Because that can be its own space. And we might have a space dedicated to just breaking down NFTs and RWAs. There might be a few spaces dedicated to that, to be honest with you. So the reason we are doing this and the reason we're doing the AMA today and is because Mavryk, the blockchain, is partnered up with Join Commonwealth. So tell us, guys, a little bit about that, the partnership, and yeah, how you think it's going so far.
The partnership with CW is great. It brought us essentially out of stealth mode. We've been building Mavryk for a bit in order to expand into the world of RWAs and facilitate this wider like financial ecosystem that we're building. We're quite familiar with the Commonwealth team from prior to this collaboration together, and so it's helped us. When you start a new project and you're building a new community from scratch, it's always great to partner with somebody who's A, aligned in the same types of interests as you, but B, has the same vision of what this technology should be used for, but C, also really well connected when it comes to marketing, which is, to be fair, when it comes out in this world of blockchain, a lot of it is really just getting the message out as opposed to the technology. The technology is extremely important, but if nobody knows about it, then what's the point? So there needs to be a heavy focus on both the technological aspects of blockchain and also the distribution and onboarding of users to use blockchain. And so that's why we're really excited for the Commonwealth. Our community's grown tremendously. It's been faster than we've anticipated. So very happy.
I want to jump in real quick, and I see a bunch of comments down below saying they can't hear anything. I'm gonna need some reactions from
That's
the
not good.
listeners. Give me a thumb. Give me a heart. Hey, there we go. Give me a heart if you can hear me. Just give them a second. It's a little bit of a delay. Okay, I see a few hearts. I see a few hearts. Okay, a bunch of okay, they can hear me. Now, Alex, say something real quick.
Hello.
What's the weather in Dubai like?
Well, it's actually flooding. There's like lots of flooding, but
He's
yeah,
also in LA right now.
it's been raining a lot.
He's in LA.
That's
doing
true.
some Maverick rounds.
That's true. Okay, now, listeners down below, give me some thumbs ups if you can hear Alex and Sam. Thumbs ups. We're switching to thumbs ups if you can hear Alex and Sam. And then we'll go from there. Hopefully, it's just a few people. I know that does happen to Twitter sometimes. You have to leave and come back. It might be even an update. There's been an update recently. I see a lot of thumbs ups. So, all right, I think we're good to go. I just wanted to pause real quick, make sure that we're not just talking to ourselves here and that all these beautiful listeners down below can hear something. All right. I think we're good. So I'll leave a comment down below letting people who can't hear know to update the app, and we'll try again. All right. Sorry about that. So Commonwealth has been amazing and has been such a mind-blowing contribution to the launch of Mavryk Network. So I just wanted to give them just a shout out. Alex, Sam, I don't know if you want to jump in on that, but they've been
they've been
great.
amazing. they planned out this free VC fund extraordinarily well. Outside of like their step preparation to handle this amount of people, but also the actual mechanics and the kind of economy that they're going for was just absolutely amazing and really great to see that much thought go into a crypto project. It was really great. They've just been great. They've been talking with us constantly to make sure that our missions get properly done, to make sure that Mavryk's getting what it deserves. And we've been talking to them to make sure you guys are happy, and had some issues with some of our participants not having issues submitting missions and so on, but they've taken care of it. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been mind blowing, and the amount of activity in our Discord. If you're not in our Discord, guys, you're missing out on a party right now. Let me tell you, the last week, I know my full-time job now is being in the Discord. There's so much activity, so many people talking, so many questions, so many people learning about RWAs. We've said it in the last space, and I'll say it again. We're gonna have one of the coolest, most educated communities when it comes to RWAs by the time this campaign is over, and that's largely thanks to Join Commonwealth. So yeah, definitely shout outs to them and all the amazing stuff that they're doing. And then I guess with that being said, well, you guys ready to start jumping into some questions, some frequently asked questions about RWAs?
Hit me or Maverick. And it doesn't have to be RWAs. We're here to answer all questions about either the technology or the application of the technology, which would be RWAs, or the ecosystem that we're building with fusing those RWAs into DeFi. So if you have any questions, we're gonna take some questions from the questions posted below, from the Discord, from Telegram, or feel free to request and come up and ask. It's an open space for people to ask, get their answers, and learn.
Pretty to chive, Maverick and RWAs together, right? I guess a good one to start is, why is Maverick focusing on RWAs, and what is the risk associated with that?
There's two really big questions in there, and I'll take one, and then Theo remind me of the latter
Yeah.
half. But it's, why is Maverick focused on RWAs, and then what is the risk? Um, so Maverick, as the team behind the Mavryk blockchain, we're focused on RWAs essentially because it's a practical application of the use of blockchain technology to build a financial ecosystem. Um, I'm like holding back a sneeze. Give me a moment. Uh, Whew, okay. So, if you think about what blockchain came forth into the world with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin itself is an application on top of a blockchain, happens to be Bitcoin's blockchain. As we've moved along, we've got Ethereum, smart contracts, other layer one blockchains for smart contract layers, and for the most part, we've built some incredible technology, but we haven't really applied it to anything in the real world. We've built dexes, we've built lending, we've built tokens, we've built meme coins, but we haven't really, what's the point of a dex to swap or lending or borrowing if you're using a coin whose inherent value is based on a meme? And I'm not meaning to detract from meme coins, but it's a limited economic field that you can really play with. The private equity world, all the real estate of the world, all of the equity of companies, all the bonds that are issued, etc., is a massive. It's in the tens of trillions of dollars in terms of what can come on board. So um, it's it's building a new financial ecosystem, and so what we're here to do is to not just facilitate and support meme coins and their trading and the borrowing against them, but also to integrate the ownership over real world assets on a blockchain. So then you can borrow, for example, you can create a loan. You can actually borrow against the value of your hotel token or your Dogecoin or your multifamily housing token or bond token. So that's why we're focused on RWAs, because it's really a massive potential for the use of blockchain. And also, when mostly, I mean, to sum it up in total, is everybody in the crypto space keeps asking when mainstream adoption, but we don't build products for the mainstream. So diving into RWAs is really is building for the mainstream.
And so what is the latter half? What is the risk associated with taking this endeavor on? And I think it's kind of in between the lines there, but yeah, what is the risk of that? And then we'll go to Kelly and CB. And if you guys, Kelly, CB, if you guys want to jump in on what Alex is saying, as opposed to asking a question, feel free to just raise your hand. If not, we'll get to you in just a bit. So what is the risk, Alex, of us tackling this new endeavor?
So there are different risks when it comes to it. Actually, RWAs does reduce the risk from like the real world, but there are different risks involved. For Mavryk itself, there aren't really any risks. Mavryk again as the blockchain layer, um, but it helps facilitate the transfer and the the let's call it digital programmability of these RWA tokens. When it comes to the risk for well, Mavryk is built again with what's called functional programming. So you can essentially, we've got more secure code for the smart contracts and the applications that are built on top of Mavryk. So a lot of the problems that you see with Solidity we're not going to have as well. But there are always risks of, you need to make sure your code is audited so it doesn't get hacked. There are risks of bridging. There's risks with RWAs in terms of the deeds. Um, so when you tokenize an RWA for the most part, specifically real estate, you take I'm not to dive into it, but you take the deed of land, you put it into a holding company, and then you have the holding company's um, legal documentation essentially point to the token contract. And so there are risks associated also, and you need to make sure that that flow of ownership off chain is there. So as a user, as any investor would do their due diligence, you should just, double check, but that's not a tokenization. That's not a code risk. And just like all investments, you also have to, ensure that what you're buying into with that RWA is a good investment. Just because it's tokenized on chain doesn't necessarily make it a good investment. The same with real estate, right? Like you'd get an appraisal, you check the foundation, etc. So you should do the same with RWAs. In the beginning, they're going to be curated and pre-vetted, etc., from the companies that are issuing them, but it's something to keep in mind.
Amazing. Sorry about that. I was just pinning comments from down below up top for us to read when we are ready. And in the meantime, though, we have Kelly and CB here on the stage. Kelly, you came up first. Welcome to our, I guess, first official AMA. It's not our first AMA, but it's our first official AMA. So welcome.
Thanks, and it's great to be here. I was wondering, because I'm also a software developer, but not so much with blockchain, but I'm kind of wondering, because you guys work with off-chain data, how does that work with rollbacks, kind of? Like, let's say something off-chain fails, how does that come together on-chain?
What do you mean by something off-chain fails?
Well, let's say, because I'm guessing you're doing some sort of task off-chain, right? You have a tokenized car, for instance, that's, well, transferred to maybe someone else. Does that require additional calls for stuff you need to do off-chain to legally?
So for like a car and like the ownership title, this kind of thing, the ownership title, you can actually make it so that itself is tokenized. The California DMV is doing something very cool in that sense. But the actual transfer of ownership would be on chain. It wouldn't be over paper at that point.
Okay.
Like that would be that transfer of ownership would be on chain.
Yeah.
But if you're
Sam, to chime in on this for a second, is the ownership of a car is not a great let's say example for tokenization, because it does require, it's kind of like the deed of a house. It does require the issuing government body to recognize the token as the title of ownership, where right now that's not happening.
Well,
as Sam has mentioned, though, the California DMV is testing something for using blockchain to track the changes of ownership there. However, as it works with most RWAs, you're actually just tracking the cap table of all the different investors who own shares of stock by
Alex,
the token contract, and there's not much.
We're getting lost in the sauce. So her question.
Yeah,
let me break it. Yeah, it's basically about our oracles, and if
no, it's not about oracles. It's how do you track how do you take care of off-chain stuff when there's a token?
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's my question.
So essentially, when it comes to like things like when you tokenize real estate, for the most part, there's a trustee or a holding company or a management property management company that will take care of those off-chain actions on behalf of the shareholders, the token holders.
Okay, that makes it a lot more clear. Thanks.
Yeah. So
Of course.
there's a couple. Okay, yeah, there was a couple angles to that question. What happens to the real world asset when it's digitized? Like, what is it being taken care of? Say if you have a vase and that vase breaks in real life, what do you do? That's a good question. And then on the other side, you know, there's going to be other RWAs, say, you know, tracking gold or something. And what happens when the value drops? Well, the RWA, I would imagine in that case, just does what it does and represents the value of that real world object. Unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, there.
Yeah,
So, Kelly, are you satisfied with your the answer at all?
I am, but like I said, I think it's, or at least I'm speaking for myself, but I think that's kind of like where it gets fake for a lot of people. Like when you bridge or you bring traditional finance to DeFi, like what parts are being done by who, and like how does it all come together? And I think you clarified that a little bit, so thanks.
Awesome. And then CB, you're up next, man. What's welcome.
Hey, hello everybody. Thank you. Super happy to be here. Yeah, I'm a part of the a participant in the Joint Commonwealth campaign, and doing one of the tasks, I got familiar with the bounties and grants part of your the Mavryk project, and I found that quite interesting. So I just have a couple follow-up questions about that. So, for example, like how do you decide what projects you actually want to provide grants in? Is it projects that somehow boost and help Maverick? Or is it something that helps the ecosystem? Like, how do you actually assess, okay, now we're going to take this pile of money and invest into this specific project? Like, there's millions of possible projects out there, right? So I was just wondering a bit, like, the decision behind it, like, what do you focus on? And also a bit of the tokenomics, right? Like, where do you get the money from, or how do you know how much money to allocate to these grants? Do you have some kind of budget? Okay, a percentage of our revenue will go to grants every month or something like that.
It's a great question. I'm going to let Sam take the brunt of it, but I did want to just start off with saying is that there is an allocation of tokens specifically reserved for incentivizing people to fulfill the bounties. When it comes to grants, it won't be grants per se of like in the beginning it'll be mostly bounties and then eventually go to grants. And we've built those bounties on chain for things to support the Maverick ecosystem. So if we want to see a new DEX come alive or a new access through a front end or even community building, at the beginning, the Maverick Foundation will post those bounties and say, hey, this is what we want. And it'll be there available for someone to apply for. And with that, I'm going to let Sam kind of dive a little bit more into the bounties.
Wow, drop it all on me, Alex. Way to go. So the actual tokenomics.
Hence my Swiss Army knife.
Okay, so the bounties and grants. There's going to be a few stages for it itself. In the beginning, it's mainly going to be us that are going to suggest and put up the bounties that we need to help kind of get the ecosystem to jumpstart it. Then it's going to branch out and move to the foundation that will handle the putting up the bounties and deciding like what should go up there, what if we're missing a DEX, that kind of stuff. And afterwards, we're going to open it up so anyone is able to put up their own bounty or grant that they want for their project. So the first two stages will really be for MVRK tokens. At least that's the current form of it. And then once we open it up to everyone, other projects will be able to come along and put up tokens of their platform that they want to offer if someone can do a project for them. So we kind of, if you think about Gitcoin, we kind of did something similar to that, and just for the whole Maverick ecosystem. So people don't have to go anywhere else to find people to work on a bounty for them to help join them for a project, etc. Even the people who sign up for bounties themselves can sign up their own team members as well, so we can see everyone who is part of it, and the community itself can see who is taking part in different bounties and grants. Obviously, for some of it will be pseudo anonymous, some of it won't be anonymous, depending on what the grant and the bounty is, etc. Like ones that are community building, and this will actually kind of relate to giving them MVRK, and they're spending cash to build a community, to run an event, to host a beer night in the middle of Texas. I don't know, that kind of thing. Like those will probably be a bit more like public facing, so that in nature won't be really anonymous. But some of them that are more developer build stuff, it'll be kind of just pseudo anonymous in that sense. But they're still going to be vetted by us and by the foundation before they do their thing. Alex.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in on what you said, is that there's going to be different elements of what we put out bounties for. In the beginning, it's going to be for helping to build the Mavryk ecosystem, whether that is with community building in local neighborhoods, or that is actual, let's say, like coding stuff. So it could be a new front end for Maven. It could be different front end stuff for Mavryk. It could be smart contract stuff for the Mavryk protocol, or it can also dive in, as eventually, as Sam said, is that we're going to open it up for projects building on the Mavryk blockchain to offer their own tokens or USDT in order to build a community, in order to expand the work that is being done on their project. So if you have a DEX that can come in and say, hey, we'll give, $5,000 for some, XYZ pages for us, they can kind of like, it's a place for both community members and developers to come and get paid to do work for expanding the Mavryk ecosystem in different ways.
Okay, yeah, no, that clarifies. Just a very quick follow-up question. So I guess in some scenarios, the grant will be given for people to help kind of kickstart some in like a short time frame. Let's say, okay, now for the next 3 weeks, you guys are gonna help us do this, and you'll get this money for it. But are there also situations where you would want someone to actually build a team and just take that grant money to just kickstart them, but then from there just continue and actually do maintenance and just continuously build on it, like going forward years ahead?
Yeah, there are certain situations like that will arise. We've already talked about a few of those, few such situations. Those will be handled as they come along, and obviously it's by part of it will be getting to meet and know the team, ensure that we trust them, because they're going to be building something that will be to Mavryk, and it won't just be where doing it once and doing it in the beginning will ensure that they're paid in perpetuity. That's not how it's going to work. They have to do maintenance and so on, and if they don't hold up to that, then it won't just be forever.
All right, got it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, CB, grants are difficult, or grants and bounties. They're both difficult, and the reason why they're so difficult is, whatever we say right now, that might change once we're in a year from now, when when we're fully going, and there's a long list of people applying, and so things change over time, especially when it comes to grants, what qualifies for a grant. And yeah, I think each grant should be and will be taken on an individual basis. What is the term for that? Sorry, Sam, help me out. Individual case by case
basis.
There it is. Thank you, CB. I lost that for a second. Yeah, I think that's the proper way to do it, because not every single grant is going to be unique in its own way. Every single company is going to be unique in its own way. Every single goal is going to be unique in its own way. So we'll see what happens as it shakes up, right? And right now
That's Theo, that's why we built so there's going to be bounties and grants again, and it's actually in the beginning it's going to be mostly bounties, but we built the contract to support multiple milestones. So there will be short-term bounties, as you mentioned, CB, where it's just one milestone in order to get done. Hey, we want to be hosting a community building night in Dallas or in Tokyo, and then there will also be long-term, like there'll be grants where people can apply down the line, but there will also be multiple milestone bounties where It's like, hey, for every once a month for the next year, we want to be hosting a community building in Tokyo. And so the people will apply for that. It'll be, you can see who's actually been accepted into the bounty, and the importance of, while it is a smart contract that is controlled by the foundation to a degree, we put it on chain because most of the bounties and grants that are being run by blockchain foundations are incredibly non-transparent, and the communities have no idea what's going on. So we put that on chain so that the community can track the milestones, but then also track that these payments have gone out.
Awesome. And then with that being said, Devin, you are up next. Devin, welcome to the space, man. Ask us your question.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me. I was actually wondering about whether which token standards you guys are using.
Token standards, if I heard that correctly.
Yeah, because of course RWA can have different natures, right? So do you also have different token standard that actually support that nature? Because I actually work in the fund industry and I'm busy with tokenizing investment funds, and I can actually see how difficult it is because you would need certain requirements to be built in. We're thinking about, okay, is it possible to let a token of a fund trade on a DEX? Would you need to have a dedicated and KYC'd wallet? So I was just wondering if Mavryk Network, how your approach on this regard is.
So Sam, also feel free to chime in on this because you've been quite involved with it. But we've got different token standards for tokens in general. So we've got what's called an FA 1.2 and an FA2 token standard. But we've built our own RWA token standard, which right now is called the RWA token. We need to give it like a proper name. And it is essentially, we've taken the best of ERC 4636, if I believe, the CMTA token standard from a Swiss entity called CMTA, and then also there was one more, Sam. I'm blanking on the name of it that we looked at for inspiration. Oh, the NIC standard from EchoSafe. And so the RWA token actually does follow. Again, RWAs are not exactly DeFi. That's why I prefer the term open finance when it comes to RWAs. They do have transfer restrictions. They are attached to a KYC contract. It is not a simple, hey, here's a token and it can transfer anywhere at any time, anyhow. It follows it will ping a whitelist and blacklist according to KYC restrictions. There's a transfer contract as well to check. So that DEX would actually so we're about to build a DEX for RWAs. We built a bulletin board, kind of like an OTC desk for it, but it does take into account the KYC procedures and the compliance procedures needed for security. So I tend to prefer the term open finance when it comes to the integration of RWAs and DeFi. But I do completely understand the point of okay, can it trade on the DEX? Who can buy it? Who can liquidate a vault that has it? And all those different compliance needs when it comes to RWAs or securities, really. Sam, if you have anything to chime in, please do.
Not really. You kind of covered it. It's not going to integrate seamlessly with indexes. It's that simple. There's transfer restrictions. It requires KYC for a lot of them. We have a whitelist for who can accept it, who can send it, who can hold it in their wallet. We're putting in we have a massive, frankly, a table that goes over all the different things that need to be inside the token itself, and we're just going through that and trying to hash out the best way to build this token standard to cover as much as possible with it.
So you would also have your own wallet developed.
We're actually working on.
So we have the Mavryk wallet.
Okay.
We have the Mavryk wallet, which includes what we call the Mavryk Pro wallet. And the Pro wallet is actually, the user goes through a form of verification KYC. So once you're in that Pro wallet, you can interact with RWAs. And then if other DEXs, so we're going to take these RWAs and have them seamlessly integrate with DeFi platforms, but those platforms need to comply with certain
Yeah,
standards
I
in
think you have
order
like
to.
compliance oracles for that as well, right? I've been diving into this matter, so
There's a bunch of different things required so that RWAs seamlessly integrate with DeFi, but it's not as simple as, someone throws up a new DEX and all of a sudden you can list a token there. It will require more integration in order to have this seamless open finance ecosystem.
yeah, sounds really good because the main problem right now for fund managers is the liquidity. Because most security tokens, you said it's an old-fashioned word, but most of them just trade on the secondary venue, and there's not much liquidity there, right? So I'm really looking into the way how I can offer this to my clients. So perhaps in the future, I'll come to you and ask for advice if Mavryk is the blockchain to use also for tokenized funds. And before I go, Kelly, I really like your question as well. I think you should have a look at 4K protocol. I think that's a very interesting protocol, and it basically gives the visibility of how the process works because they are like the custodian, and they also have a cool post that explain how that actually works with RWAs that are being held in custody. So, and I heard that you're a Dutchie as well, so that's cool.
Hey, thanks for the recommendation.
Yes, thank you.
Devin, are you in Amsterdam by any chance, or somewhere
No,
else?
actually, I do work in Amsterdam, but I live in Amersfoort. It's in the middle of the Netherlands, so it's not very popular among tourists. But yeah, it's a cool city for sure.
I find myself in Amsterdam relatively often. Obviously DM me. We could talk about the RWA stuff, but we'd love to grab a beer if I'm there. I've got a good friend in Leiden. So,
Sounds good. Sounds good.
But
Appreciate it. Let's.
it's Holland, so pretty much everything is nearby. So
That's true.
That's
That's
true.
true.
That is very true.
No, cool. Let's do that, Alex. Let's do that.
Let's go. That means you can get to go hang out with Burn too. Oh man, that's a good time. Hey.
Theo, not to sidetrack from the AMA, but I did do that actually and grabbed a beer with Burn
Let's go.
last time I was in Amsterdam. And I didn't notice that he was about 17,500 feet tall because we only knew each other like in the digital world.
And just for Devin and Kelly, we have friends in the Netherlands. Lots of amazing builders over there, just making things happen. So Alex will definitely have to get you guys in a DM, buy you guys a beer. In the meantime, though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dutch design. It's one of my favorite things. You guys have a key that is actually, I don't know how to explain it, but you guys have a really cool lock and key old school mechanism. And then also one of my favorite car manufacturers, unfortunately not around anymore, but is Spyker. So big fan of Dutch design.
So when are you heading here?
Well, I was actually just there. Like it's almost been a year, but we'll see. I'll have to do like a Twitter announcement or something next time.
If it counts, I'll probably be in Denmark in a few months.
Or we can
at the beer
organize some
festival
kind of
there.
Commonwealth party in Amsterdam, and you guys join as well.
Let's go. We're kind of just, laughing, joshing, but these real life events, that's going to be very key and super important. And when we launch, I'm sure we'll be talking about that so much more. Alex is currently just traveling the world, like going to these events, going to the meetings, meeting people, and that's the way to do it. That's how to make life happen. So we'll be talking about live events and meetings quite a bit, post launch. Hey, Hayes, I see you're unmuting now. Go ahead. You have a question for us?
Hey, yeah, just a quick one out of curiosity. In terms of real world assets and Web3, is there anything that you would love to see integrated, but you think there's a massive barrier in terms of it being able to be brought across in terms of, like, I don't know if it's to do with necessarily augmented realities and stuff, but what would you love to see most integrated that you think currently can't be?
For me, video games, but that's an
to
easy one. Alex, go ahead.
Well, video games will come on chain. It's just a matter of building it in a way that doesn't piss off all the gamers. Because most of the elements of when they bring blockchain to video games is more surrounding the fact that there is a token rather than the gameplay itself. But in terms of the RWAs, there's nothing really you can't tokenize in the real world. It's just a matter of, what is there what is the low hanging fruit? Like where does this technology really bring additional
Mm.
value to the transfer of this ownership or access to the ownership, et cetera? So I mean, real estate is a low hanging fruit there because it produces a constant yield when it's rented out. Hotels, especially because if you don't have $100 million to buy a hotel, you might get 10 family offices that can buy $100 million hotel. But us as just regular human beings cannot buy for the most part, a hotel. But you can buy $10,000 worth of RWAs. One of the interesting things that I think is going to be really interesting to see on chain is something called insurance linked securities, and that is essentially the insurance companies actually have to have a pool of funds to dip into when there is a drawdown or a payment to the insurance holder, and so they raise capital for those insurance companies by issuing an insurance linked security. So you might have $100 million worth of car insurance, and you need to have a certain, either all of that money or a part of that money locked away in order to draw down. So they sell this security. It's essentially a
Yeah.
bond for um, uh, for the insurance company, and then the majority of the premiums paid on that insurance from the customers. Some of it goes to the actual insurance company. Most of them get reinsurance, and then the reinsurance sells the ILS. But the majority of those premiums paid actually go out to these ILS securities holders, and that is ripe for tokenization. There are some companies fractionalizing this in the Web 2 industry, but in Web 3, that now brings also the ability to, you can buy up a 10,000 or $100,000 worth of this ILS. It's a non-correlated asset to the market, so it always pays you regardless how Nasdaq's doing. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see on chain.
Oh, awesome. No, thank you for the answer. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. And I say video games, and we can debate this more another time, but I really think that like when it comes to gaming and movies, even, we forget about the disc market and how that would work and how that would look and how we could bring that back. NFTs has always been a rough answer to it, and it's never quite worked, but RWAs does. So yeah, I'm definitely curious about that going forward too. All right, now, oh, there you go, hand raised. Go ahead, jump in, CB.
Hey, sorry, I don't want to take all the time because I know there's other questions, but just a quick one. So whenever things start being tokenized out there, right, there's going to be different platforms that are doing it, right? So you guys are doing it. I know also like Ondo Finance, they have, I think, tokenized the Bitcoin ETFs and things like that. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out like, how will people know where to go to tokenize what, or will there be like one platform that has the biggest market share that kind of everybody goes to, or like, you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to tokenize something, how would I know which platform is the ideal for that? I don't know if my question makes sense.
No, I totally understand it. I don't think Ondo is tokenizing the Bitcoin ETF. They're tokenizing U.S. Treasuries. But what I think is really interesting, a tokenized Bitcoin ETF would be hilarious because it's also just, the Bitcoin ETF is essentially the traditional finance world's version of a tokenized of a wrapped product from on chain into the traditional finance world. For us to tokenize that's like, you know, it's Bitcoin with like 3 extra steps.
It's just
I
dumb enough
would
to
not be
make a lot of
surprised.
money. Whoever does that's going to get rich.
Yeah, that I actually think that would be really interesting because it definitely probably will happen. But when it comes to like how do we find these products on chain? So what we're doing at Maverick Dynamics, which is the company behind the Maverick Network, is we're partnering with a bunch of different, for the most part, real estate developers, projects, managers, etc. For people who wanted to have their own, like, to bring their portfolios and bring them on chain, or list them, tokenize them, and list them and sell them to investors. So we're doing all these different joint ventures behind the scenes in order to onboard plethoras of assets and bring them on chain. Now that being said, now how do you find it? Because there might be 5 different RWA projects built on top of Maverick. Well, obviously the Maverick Network's website will have a list of the ecosystem of different issuers and projects that are on the chain. So it could be it'll be exchanges, it'll be lenders, it'll be tokenization platforms and marketplaces all in one place, so you can discover everything. But secondly, um, we also have what's called the Mavryk Nexus, which is a major hub. It's a block explorer that is more than a block explorer. It's everything that you want to know about we haven't really gone into like announcing this or showing it off yet, but it is everything you want in if you need to interact with the protocol itself. So all of the tokens, whether they're RWAs or DeFi tokens or NFTs, will be able to be found in the Mavryk Nexus. It comprises 1,000% of Sam's time at the moment, beyond other things, and you'll have multiple different ways to find whatever you want, whether it's the issuers or the tokens on chain and data.
All right, awesome. We have 2 new speakers.
Sam hopefully is not. Didn't I saw Sam on mute there, and hopefully it's not like I hate you, Alex, because of the Nexus.
You took the words out of my mouth, buddy.
Well, hey, before we have 2 new speakers up. Before we get to them, let's knock out some of these questions up top. First one, I think we kind of covered it, but it's kind of goes off the back of Kelly's question earlier. How is the ownership of RWAs safeguarded by Mavryk personally? Could the ownership of RWAs be compromised or switched or hacked or taken?
Okay, so the RWAs are secured by smart contracts. The smart contracts will be that any smart contract that we endorse will undergo a security audit before it is launched on mainnet. That's very simple. In general, RWAs, they are securities, so there is some central entity that issues them, and will, depending on what the RWA is, will have the ability to revoke it also. So if you lose access to your wallet, even you lose a seed phrase, you'll be able to reclaim those RWAs by showing ownership of it in some manner.
There's a super, well, Sam, go into that because that could be a touchy subject, but go into the fact that there's a highly controlled, let's say, called it like a super admin, that if God forbid there is a problem with an RWA, the same way that if you lost a share of stock, you can actually recover your RWA token.
That it's in that sense, it's just RWAs are securities. With securities, there are a bunch of requirements that they have to meet, and we're going to fulfill them. It's that simple. If you lose access to your wallet or someone hacks you, you'll be able to, the issuing entity will be able to either burn that RWA token or retrieve it and send it to your new wallet, etc. You'll have to prove ownership to them and rightful ownership of it at that. And yeah.
It's the same with stock these days. Back in the day, I was given Disney stock in the form of a physical paper share certificate, and if I lost, Disney also keeps track of their cap table of who owns what, and if I lost that physical stock certificate, they'd be able to reissue me a new share, and those are actually those are regulations dictated by essentially every financial regulator from the governments, and it's something that we have to follow in order to build out an RWA ecosystem.
That's great. I'm glad that we got that question. The next one is why a new L1? How come we didn't build this as like an L2 on Near?
Is that that's the question from Capitalas I saw there. So why a new L1? Well, for starters, you brought up Near. I'm actually I'm a very, very big fan of the Near blockchain. The reason there's a bunch of different reasons on why we decided to build a new L1 instead of kind of take our business portfolio and Maven and go elsewhere. One of them being is when we're talking about mainstream adoption, there are a lot of elements in the blockchain space that all these different puzzle pieces are there, but no one's really putting them together to create a seamlessly easy to use system for mainstream users to come on board and bring some benefit in their lives. Let's say they can buy this asset, then with like a form of cash, and then they can use that asset to go get a loan. It's extremely fragmented, and so if you're using a wallet with seed phrases, then you have to worry about like the private keys and losing those private keys. And so the Mavryk wallet, one of the features coming soon after the testnet, will be essentially a non-custodial wallet without private keys. So people can just log in with their email and password and essentially be able to like easily log into their account. That's one. So we have to build that. Then we have to build new block explorers in order for people to easily understand all of the data that's being there, so they can kind of see, like, they can track and understand their portfolios and their transactions. And so if it came down to, we have to build a new RWA token contract, we have to build a new wallet, we've got to integrate MPC, we need to build new block explorers, we need to build new data. So and then we also need to onboard all those assets onto here. We need to ensure that the things that are onboarded onto this blockchain get integrated in a compliant fashion with DeFi products. And so if we basically had to, like, I wouldn't say reinvent the wheel, but if we had to build, and I really am starting to love this phrase. It's like, it's not the UI UX of blockchain, but it's now the consumer experience of blockchain. So if we have to build this entire new consumer experience to make it easy to use for the actual world of consumers to use, then we might as well vertically integrate all that together into our own, like, let's say not our own blockchain, but into a new blockchain where we can control the parts that don't need to be decentralized and leave the blockchain to be decentralized. So we've given everybody a very easy to use, very simple, very convenient place to interact, and that consumer experience for them is remarkable. Now, that being said, again, massive fan of Near. Not going to go into my personal holdings, but I did buy an unreasonably irresponsible amount a couple of weeks ago, a week ago. So yeah, they're a great team. It's great technology. I'm a big fan of sharding. So yeah, big fan of Near. There's nothing to do against Near. Very, very fond of them.
Absolutely. And Ole, you have the next question, Ole Thomas, but I'm going to let you ask it live because you're up here on the stage now. And so go ahead, Ole.
Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate this campaign. I didn't really know that much about RWAs, but after learning about Mavryk, I'm quite bullish. But my question is, and this might change depending on who I'm asking, but what's like the real world asset Mavryk is most passionate about? If there's a certain one, why?
Sam, I think I answered the ones that I'm personally most passionate about. I think, take this one. Tell me about tell the community about what your RWA. I was going to say RWA fantasies. Your favorite things you'd want to see on chain.
My favorite things I want to see. The one I'm most interested in at the moment are insurance-linked securities. It's something that we were looking at for a while to work with to bring on chain, and the opportunities there for the little guy to help crowdfund insurance contracts. That, okay, when you buy insurance, and the insurer has to have that money there ready to go in case something happens. But for insurance companies, that costs a lot to just have that cash there kind of ready to go. So they usually get that funded by other companies, VC companies who earn the majority of the payments, etc. So imagine being able to crowdfund that amount that's needed to back these insurance contracts, and the people who crowdfund it earn a majority of the payments that by the one being insured, the one buying the insurance. That to me is extremely interesting, in the possibilities for that. I see it as a different way to earn passive income, which would be great. Real estate too, that's cute. But kind of is that, and then car ownership would be great. I want to buy a car. I want to buy shared fractionalized ownership in a 1967 Shelby GT500 Mustang. I'd love to be able to buy fractionalized ownership in that. Be my dream. Jeez.
To add to Sam's point, before I go down the rabbit hole of let's buy a Ferrari 250 GTOs, which would be insanely cool, especially in Dubai where you have the highest end of all cars and collectible cars as well. But that money that's provided to the insurance companies, there's insurance fraud on behalf of the consumers, and insurance companies have to do their due diligence when they make payouts. But then there's also insurance fraud from the insurance company itself, right? Because they have all this money that they're taking in, and then a lot of times they might not hold that money that they're supposed to be holding and whatnot. There's a great movie about it called The Laundromat that you guys should watch. But when it comes to insurance-linked securities, that money that's provided for the ILS token will essentially be on chain, and then that needs to sit somewhere during the insurance contract. So in the regular insurance world, it can be invested into liquid assets such as like stocks and bonds that they could draw down if they need it. But so this is actually like a major force multiplier where the investors come in, buy the insurance linked security, providing liquidity to the insurance company, and then that liquidity needs to sit somewhere because it's not getting paid out. You don't want your money to just be sitting and not earning for you. So the insurance companies deploy that capital, and so that capital can be deployed on chain. It can be provided to USDT lending pools. It can be provided to liquid assets that are on chain, and so you can track that the liquidity that's supposed to be backing up your insurance contract does belong to the company and where it's deployed, as opposed to having to trust some random company in the middle of nowhere that's domiciled for regulatory reasons, that's deployed its money in some other place around the world, and hopefully it's there. So that's something to add in that's just insane about ILS and opening that up to the world.
Yeah, and for me, it's a very simple answer. The ability to buy, say, a piece of property over a long period of time slowly, as opposed to whatever crazy financial thing we have established today. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole red pill spiel of why governments suck and stuff like that, but yeah, I would just like to be able to slowly buy into a property over time. That'd be amazing. Very simple answer there. And then let's see, we have another question from Lady Pickle Rick, who is amazing. Shout outs to Lady Pickle Rick. It was International Women's Day yesterday, and she's definitely a woman who deserves her own shout out. She made a very insane Rick and Pickle. I don't know how to say this. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but a very great video parodying a cartoon.
There's a Rick and Morty. There's a Rick and Morty episode where Rick makes a battery that inside of it is a universe of people powering that battery, and then that universe there's a guy there that makes a battery that is powered by a universe inside of the battery, and so on and so forth. That episode, she did it about Matt. She took a clip from there about and just put Mavryk in it. It was awesome.
Yeah, we'll repost it. Theo, we're running out a little bit out of time.
No, we are.
Let's get to a couple more questions.
Yeah, her question. Which RWA would you personally put on the? I think we answered that. What on the blockchain first? Real estate, housing, hotels. Right. I think we've talked about that a bunch of times. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alex or Sam, but I think those are what we're kind of really working on first. How is Mavryk going to be different from current existing other RWA projects? We've kind of answered that a little bit in our previous spaces, Alex, but you can give just a quick rundown if you want. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make it really quick. We're essentially working with partners, and also in terms of us providing the technology and our partners providing the assets to vertically integrate all of these things together. So when it comes to blockchains, most blockchains just focus on the tech. They don't focus. I mean, they focus on technology and partnerships in a way that just focusing on tech without focusing on a solution. They build solutions looking for problems rather than they build solutions to answer problems. And so we're using blockchain technology to work with our partners to vertically integrate and then onboard and ensure that we're build out a interoperable ecosystem. And that's what makes us different, because it's not just Ondo's tokenizing treasury bills, Realty's tokenizing single family homes, now getting to multifamily homes, Lofty's tokenizing single family homes. So it's not just one piece that we're touching, we are touching every little piece. So if you think about what makes Mavryk different than other RWA platforms, whether it's an issuer or the blockchain itself, I like to think of it as the blockchain space today is like Linux computing, where technically you can do anything on it because it's so open, but because it's so open, it's fragmented and nothing works together properly. Where an Apple computer system, it's it's more curated, more nuanced, and you've got a you can do 99% of what you need to do, but that 99% is 1,000% easier to do, and that's what we're creating with Mavryk.
Awesome. And will there be a test net? Of course, there will be a test net that will be coming this spring. We talked about it a little bit in our previous space. What are the most important and immediate goals for Mavryk in 2024? Like, what are the top 3 key performance metrics that we are looking at to try to achieve?
When it comes to performance KPIs, I think it's a very dynamic and malleable idea. When it comes to them as it stands for now, I think a growing ecosystem of Maverick Pro wallet users. And so this kind of ties into the testnet question because we're going to have an incentivized testnet, but also we're going to have a form of an airdrop for the Maverick Pro wallet users, so you don't have to worry about gas fees. And so we're using that to onboard mainstream users to use our wallet and to dive into our ecosystem without having to worry about like I need this other token to pay for this thing called gas, and they don't understand it because it's not at a at like a Chevron gas station. Um, I think so. In terms of KPIs, um, not just regular users for the chain, but also the Maverick Pro wallet users. So we've got a basically a massive a huge group of investors using our products, but also different apps, decentralized apps that will onboard besides for the ones that we're building ourselves to join our ecosystem and get fund to apply for liquidity funding from the liquidity mining treasury on Maverick, which we didn't even get into. We keep talking about the products that we're doing, but not how we're incentivizing those products. So supporting dApps in the ecosystem, whether it's for trading RWAs, staking them, providing additional yield, etc. I think those two are the biggest 2 different KPIs because it's essentially what we want to see, and this idea changes in terms of KPIs, and KPIs should be dynamic. Is a flourishing economy that is built on chain, and that's what we want to get to, and you got to roll with the punches on how you get there.
Yeah, and I think you actually answered the next 3 questions from Johan, Matrix Code, and Maxim as well with that, because this is our key performance metrics that we're looking at. The first one is, when mass adoption, what steps are we taking for widespread mass adoption is what Code asked. And then what are our plans for onboarding people completely unfamiliar with Web3 is the question asked by Maxim. And yeah, I mean, I think you kind of touched on all that, Alex, and what you just said. And I think it really comes down to our onboarding in the wallet, like you said.
Yeah, it's all those questions are related to each other, and I don't think it's the answers to them don't exist in a vacuum of single elements that you put together. Like when mass adoption, it's like, well, a lot of people always have been asking that, and I love to use this example is we're not the blockchain space is not building for mainstream users. The only reason mainstream users want to get into blockchain is because they think the price is going to go up. If you talk to any quote unquote normal person, right, like from the non-crypto world, which is the vast majority of the world, and everybody's just like, oh, well, I saw Bitcoin went up and I should buy some Bitcoin because they're buying into it as a speculative asset. They still probably don't even know that Bitcoin is a store of value because it's limited in supply. So in order to get mainstream adoption, it requires several elements, such as again, good consumer experience. So non-custodial wallets where you log in through email and password using MPC. It requires a reason for them to open an account with that wallet as well, such as hey, I've saved up like $5,000. I can't afford down payment for a house now, but I can go invest it into a hotel token and then leverage that hotel token in this other application to get a loan, and then go buy more hotel tokens. And so we need to give them a financial reason, an opportunity to come and on board using blockchain technology. So that's really this culmination of like simplicity to onboarding, a reason to onboard, an opportunity that they want to seek out and get, is the path to mainstream adoption. And then also, um, not to sound strange about this, but we need to start also approaching the normal world in a way that that appeals to them and that talks to them. So when I talk to, people with billion-dollar real estate portfolios, we say fractionalizing ownership in order to fund a real estate deal. They say that they syndicate a deal to a group of high net worth investors, and you have to kind of understand how to bridge that gap in terms of nomenclature. Theo, to bring up that our favorite word from last year, um, is how do we speak to traditional finance to to understand the benefits of blockchain technology and then onboard them into the world that we know of how blockchain technology works. We have different lingos, and so there needs to be that Google Translate there as well.
Awesome. And then we have, last but not least, Beanie is on the stage. Beanie, we'll take your question as the last question, and then we'll wrap this up. And I want to just thank everybody real quick for coming out, but go ahead, Beanie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Is
can.
it clear? Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, great projects and really interested. My question is regarding so the bottleneck for property development or general development of real estate is sort of the lending interest. Whereas if you could do it with crowdfunding, it would be amazing. So my question is, have you looked into this? Obviously, with a sort of a credible developer, you could be sort of collaborate and get their funding in place through crowdfunding, and then sort of fractionalize basically fractionalize basically the share. Yeah,
Benny,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it cut out on my end.
Oh,
Can you just repeat the question, please?
okay, sure. Okay, so my question is regarding property development, and the biggest bottleneck is regarding raising funds. And when you raise funds, there's always usually anything 6% upwards of interest that you have to pay on the interest. If you do it through crowdfunding, is more attainable. There's a lot of reduction of cost and so on. So, is this something that you're going to integrate in your protocol, or is that something that sort of adapt or another project that will have to develop on your blockchain? Is that clear?
Yeah, I get it. It's funny. It's interesting in Dubai. The off-plan housing market is massive. For essentially, the developers start a project, they sell off the apartments before they're ready, and then the people who buy those apartments, they get a better rate than the market price on them, so they make money as well. So people are flipping off-plan housing in Dubai right now. Um, when it comes to the capital to start a real estate development project, it's not the low-hanging fruit of RWAs and tokenization, because when you want to appeal to a large mass, it's kind of hard to tell them, hey, you will 2x on this investment by the time we take this real estate to market, or 3x on the real estate. A lot of people in my like kind of like researched opinion, um, they want to buy a token that pays them. So it's already real estate that's gone to market and it's been rented or soon to be rented. However, that being said, there are a lot of discussions that I'm having regarding the financing for property development by crowdfunding. It will eventually come, and I think there will just be a separation between the RWA marketplaces that offer developed housing that is already being rented and producing a yield, and platforms specifically that offer crowdfunding to fund a deal where you're not making a yield on it on a monthly basis paid to your wallet, but when it gets taken to market, you're essentially either going to they'll sell the asset, you're essentially funding the deal, then they sell the asset and you make a very large capital gain on your investment, or they rent it on your behalf and essentially it becomes tokenized real estate once it goes to market. And then relative to your initial investment, you're making bank on your dividends. So it will eventually come in terms of crowdfunding the off-plan housing. I just don't think it'll be coming as fast as the yield bearing assets of tokenized RWAs.
Yeah, I think it's up to, I guess, up to the buyer and the seller of the RWA and whatever agreement is, because I know people buy like buildings and property before things are even finished being built. You know, like you invest into, say, an office building or something. Um, but stuff does happen in real life, you know. The ground could just crack open and your building could just fall into the ground. That happens in Florida all the time. So you never know, like, what. Yeah, so it's a risky, that's very risky, but I can see someone definitely using it for the future. Now, Mavryk Blockchain, the blockchain will have so much technology. You know, we just talking about RWAs. Maven Finance is a whole nother ball game with lending, borrowing, and NFTs aren't even established yet. So the blockchain, once it's fully going, will have all the tools in the world to get some type of crowdfunding going in some type of fashion. RWAs is specifically, though, it's an interesting question. Yeah, I think that's gonna just be down to the people, the agreement between the buyer and the seller, buyer or creator of the RWA.
Well, we're working with different real estate. Luckily, in our business development network and partners, we're working with different um, real estate developers, asset managers, et cetera, that want to tokenize and bring it on chain. The vast majority already rent it out. Some of them are buildings that I was last week. They were literally breaking ground when I was there, shoving dirt around to build up this like 18-story hotel slash condominium building. So we're working with different partners all around that want to use the technology. And like I said, you know, the Mavryk blockchain, the team behind the Mavryk blockchain, we're actively working with partners to provide the technology for them to tokenize their properties or their off-plan housing. But the off-plan housing is down the line. So we've got all the tools here. We've got all the business development to bring them onto our chain. And as it comes onto our chain, integrate them with Maven Finance for lending and God willing, other apps that come on chain to facilitate lending or trading or swapping. So to dive into that question a little deeper.
All right, Beanie, I hope we answered your question. Awesome. And that being said, we're an hour and 15 minutes over we're 15 minutes over the hour limit, I should say. So we'll be wrapping it up, but this will not be the last AMA we do at all. You could always join us on Mondays for our Maven Mondays, where we sit down with Maven Finance and go through all the cool technology they have over there and hang out, talk about RWAs. So that's a place you can catch us in the immediate future. In 3 days, we'll be doing that space on Monday. And then yeah, we'll be announcing the next Maverick AMA. We're hoping to have it sometime next week. I don't want to say a day off the top of my head because but Alex and Sam, you can maybe nail down a day if you want. But we'll definitely be doing more of these AMAs, and we are still answering you guys' questions in the Discord. I know when unfortunately there's just the three of us you're talking to right here. We're going through every question manually and verifying and making sure that everybody's following the steps to get their role, so that way it's not cheated, it's not manipulated in any way. Sam, you're unmuted. Go ahead. Did you want to jump in for a second?
Real quick out. It's the three of us that are going through Discord and doing that. It's not just the three of us on the team.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm a co-founder. Theo is our Discord degen. We have a bunch of developers and some other advisors and partners. But we're the ones that
thank you for the
Discord
clarity
to talk to people. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the only mods of the Discord. Thank you for that clarity. And so we're going through them. We're answering your questions. So just just have a little bit of patience with us. We're gonna get to. We might not be able to answer all the questions. Like there's over 3,000 questions at least. We've gotten through 1,000 of them. But yeah, so hopefully these AMAs and these live spaces will help ease a lot of that tension. So definitely join them if you see other people asking questions that you've already seen answered, and let them know, point them in the right direction. And yeah, come join us, come talk, come keep the not the AMA, the RWA conversation going. And also don't forget about our Telegram. We have a Telegram as well. If you're not really into Discord, it's too complicated, it's too messy, you don't like looking at it. Telegram's a much simpler alternative. And help in there. We're also in there. We're talking, and we're going to bridge those two platforms as well, so that people talking in the general chat of the Discord, you'll see that in Telegram and vice versa. So we'll all stay connected. We'll keep the conversation going. So join us, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. Any last thoughts, Sam or Alex, before we close the space? Oh, CB, go ahead. You have a final thought?
Oh no, just want to say thank you. Just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. And thank you everybody below. This is, out of all the spaces that we have done so far, this is probably the biggest space that we've run. So I really appreciate everybody coming out. I really appreciate all the questions. And yeah, hopefully we can answer them all and yeah, go through this journey together. It's going to be really cool. I've personally never been a part of a brand new blockchain before. So this is an exciting journey for me. I hope it's just as exciting for you guys. And we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming out,
Thank
everyone.
you all for coming out, everyone.
Yeah, and if you post your questions and if you post your question that any questions that weren't answered in the AMA that are posted below, we'll get to them down the line. Don't worry, just look out for those notifications when we answer.
Awesome. Goodbye, everybody.